Passage 1. Listen to part of a lecture in an undergraduate law class. The Introduction of a Law Course. Welcome to Street Law 101. For some of you, this will be your first time in a law course. Others of you will have had some type of law in high school. In either case, today I want to talk to you about what you are going to study and suggest some ways that might be effective for you to study. First of all, you are going to be studying American law, law which is based on the Constitution, English common law, statute, and administrative regulations. Now, all of you know that our Congress makes laws in Washington, D.C., and our states make their own laws in their state capitals. So we have statutes at both levels of government. These laws are referred to as statutory law. The Constitution of the United States is the highest law of the land. Laws made by Congress and the state legislatures cannot violate the Constitution. The states also have constitutions. This kind of law is known as constitutional law. Administrative regulations are also laws. Each level of government has administrative agencies which make regulations, and these regulations have the force of law. For example, the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Internal Revenue Service are examples of federal agencies which make rules and regulations that become law. The FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission, is another example. This agency makes rules about deceptive advertising and rules which relate to other matters of consumer importance. I see some puzzled looks. Don't worry, we will talk more about the agencies later, so I will have plenty of time to answer your questions about details. The English common law is traditional and unwritten law. It was court-made law, not law made by the legislature. And when the colonists arrived in America, they brought with them the idea of English common law. Today we still have court-made law, and we still refer to our common law traditions. Court-made law is what we call case law. Now, some of the common law has been gathered together and made into statutes. The Uniform Commercial Code is an example of common law in the area of sales of goods and other commercial law which has been made into statutory law. Now let me stop for a moment. Please do not feel overwhelmed. All of this will come into focus as we break each segment apart and study it separately. I am trying to give you an overview today. So let's proceed. I have just talked about some of the sources of law. Now you must understand there are some categories of law. Civil and criminal, for example. I am sure you have some understanding of the criminal law. Criminal law involves crimes against society or the state. The state passes a law that people cannot steal, also that drivers cannot exceed the speed limit. Understand? These are offenses against the state. Now civil law is different. Here you have a wrong against a person. It is a wrong and not a crime. And the wrong is against an individual, not the state. For example, someone may enter into a contract to buy a piece of land and has the money to pay the landowner, and the landowner changes his mind. So the buyer wants to make the seller convey or turn over the land. The seller has wronged the buyer. This is a civil law case. Another category of law you need to remember is the substantive procedural category. Substantive law relates to subject areas. Contracts, torts, products liability, real estate, family law, and corporations are examples. And there are a lot more, too. Procedural law is about procedure, or how to do something, how to file a lawsuit, how to conduct a jury trial, how to file an appeal. The first day of a law class is probably the most difficult first day of any class you will ever have. Don't be discouraged. It will become much more clear as we break down the topics. We will go slowly and we will learn general principles and rules of law. And by that I mean what most states follow. Sure, each state has its own rules and law, but the general rule is followed by the majority of states. This class is not for the purpose of making you experts. It is to give you an overall understanding of rules of law. So next class, we will talk about how to study law, and I will show you a good way to take notes so you can remember the court cases that we will be reading. I hope to see you all next time.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer.
Number 1. What is the lecture mainly about? Number 2. In the lecture, the professor explains substantive law. Indicate whether each of the following is included. Click in the correct box for each phrase. Number 3. Why does the professor mention the Constitution? Number 4. According to the professor, common law is...
Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
So we have statutes at both levels of government. These laws are referred to as statutory law.
Number 5. What does the professor mean when he says this?
So we have statutes at both levels of government.
Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
So next class we will talk about how to study law, and I will show you a good way to take notes so you can remember the court cases that we will be reading. I hope to see you all next time.
Number 6. Why does the professor say this?
I hope to see you all next time.